Welcome back to Collaboration Conversations. My co host, Pearl, is still unavailable to be with us at this time. So we have a special guest co host today, my good friend Manuj Aggarwal. Hello, Manuj.
Hello,
Welcome.
hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome. It's a beautiful day. And anytime I get to spend time with you, it's a beautiful day.
Same here, same here.
So, welcome to the LinkedIn Live. So, we are going to talk about collaboration conversations, folks. But first, let's hear a little bit about Manoj so you get to know him a little bit. So, Manoj, would you tell us a little bit about your background,
Sure.
what it is you do, what brought you here?
Yeah,
Let us get
sure.
to know you a little better.
So basically, my background is all about technology, innovation, startups. I've been in the technology space for about 30 years. Today, I'm considered one of the leading experts in artificial intelligence. I have four patents in artificial intelligence, authored two books on technology. I have a top rated podcast called Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. It's the top 0.5% of the podcasts in the world, and I'm also the community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is a community of about 2,500 startups. So um, my focus is always about how to help businesses, how to help startups find hidden opportunities using technology, to create more opportunities, to create more connections, to make create more collaborations, as the title of the show is.
Awesome. I
Uh,
love the title of your podcast, Bootstrapping Your Dream. Is that,
Correct.
did I
Yes.
get that
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Dreams. Yeah.
Dreams.
Yeah.
Bootstrapping Your Dreams. How long have you been doing that?
About 3 years. I started in 2019, and the idea behind that is, again, my focus. I grew up in India, with come from very humble background. Used to be working. I used to work in a factory for $2 a day, and from there, the where I am today. I didn't have any resources, didn't have any connections. So my focus is always about, when I look at the startup industry, a lot of people are focused on raising money, not making money. And that's where I differ from the conventional thinking. I tell them, hey, if you are a true entrepreneur, you are able to figure out what the problems are, that you're trying to solve, and you can bootstrap it, meaning you can figure out a way to make a sustainable business without raising venture capital. I
Yes.
have worked with so many startups, and I have helped them raise millions and millions of dollars. And unfortunately, in many cases, when they raise the money, it actually has backfired. It
Yes.
has actually, most of the startups that I helped raise money for, they actually did not survive. And venture capitalists also know that. I mean, they know exactly what is going on. They bet on 100 startups, they know 90 will fail, and
Wow.
10, one or two will succeed and pay for the losses. So my recommendation always, to startups and businesses are, hey, rather than borrowing money, which will put additional pressure on you,
Yes.
just try to build a business.
So when you talk about bootstrapping, and I love that term,
Mm.
what are some of the methodologies that you give folks to bootstrap
Yeah.
to actually create that in their business?
See, every situation is different, but let's look at the fundamental differences. So, if you want to raise money, you need to take an idea, and then you need to knock on hundreds and hundreds of doors to get them to invest in your idea. Right
Right.
now, they are taking a portion of your idea, and they are putting their own restrictions on you, on how
Yes.
much time you have to execute the idea, or how do you need to execute the idea, who do you want to
Right.
serve. They it Money comes with a lot of strings attached, right?
Yes.
Now,
Indeed.
you take the same scenario, and I tell them, okay, you're going to knock on hundreds of doors to raise money. Why don't you knock on hundreds of doors to say, buy my product, buy my idea?
Yeah.
And it will be the same amount of effort. By the way, it will be less amount of effort, because selling something of value, you need to convince people less, because
Yes.
they can try things out. You can, uh, I mean, take an example. Like, let's say you are in clean energy. You can just create some meaningful content. Just create some, a framework for a company to use to
Right.
adopt clean energy or something along those lines, and you can start selling it to a customer. If you are so resilient that you can raise money, knock on hundreds of doors, you should be as resilient to sell that idea to somebody, because they are getting some value out of it, right?
Right. Right.
Now the thing is, as you get the customers, getting those investors is going to be 10 times easier, because now they know that you've already got the traction,
Your
right?
idea works.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then the other additional thing is, if you go to the investor before you got the traction, they are going to ask for a ridiculous amount of equity in your company. Most likely
Yes.
they'll basically, you'll be working for them.
Right.
But if you have traction, they will not be able to dictate those terms. They will say, oh, you already got the traction, so how much do you need? How much
Yeah.
equity can I get? Right? um,
Right.
yeah, so that's the mindset shift that people need to see how this. And then the other thing is, I can't blame them either. Like, once you get into it, you understand the game. From the outside, you just don't see what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's powerful information for folks because most entrepreneurs do struggle to get started.
Mhm.
And as we know, so many of them fail, whether
Mhm.
they got venture capital or not,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think there's a lesson there that when we go get that venture capital, not only are there those strings attached to it, there is that pressure that's put on us to repay that. And I don't know, do you see a difference in the mindset of the person who goes and gets the venture capital versus the person that bootstraps? What's that difference in
Absolutely,
mindset?
a huge mindset shift. See, the people who look for, again, I don't want to criticize anybody. I mean, whatever
No.
works for somebody,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Now,
Yeah,
the
we each have our
mindset
own
shift
path.
is, majority of the people don't need venture capital. Like,
Right.
unless you're building a huge infrastructure, like Elon Musk needs huge amount of capital to create these mega factories, right?
Right.
But most people in the digital age, they are creating digital products. They
Right.
are creating apps. They are creating these. Even in the physical world, as I explained, like clean energy. That's a physical implementation, but you can actually create a digital product to launch it,
Right.
right?
Right.
But the mindset that I see in most new generation of entrepreneurs is that I don't want to invest in myself, but I want others to invest in me,
Aha.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
because selling is hard and creating something of value is hard. So they say, oh, let me just go to an investor who will invest in me. When I ask them, okay, what have you done? Have you talked to any customer? Oh, no, 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 no. I'm just looking for money right now. So that's the mindset shift. But uh, other entrepreneurs, they'll invest in themselves. They'll learn about the market. They'll go talk to the
Right.
consumers. They'll understand their pain points. They'll figure out what the messaging needs to be.
Do the
And
research.
exactly, and
Yeah.
and get to know the market, and
Right.
and they are very flexible. If their original idea doesn't work, they are willing to change their mind.
Exactly.
So when the venture capital comes in, and then that's another story, and that's a whole different story, because when you're a new entrepreneur, generally you have you're not playing with a lot of money, right? So
Right.
when you have a successful raise of capital, you see 7 to 8 figures in your bank. Yesterday you had nothing, today you have
Right.
7 to 8 figures. Money plays tricks on your mind.
It
you
does
know
indeed.
Anybody who has watched Deal or No Deal, the game show, they'll
Right.
know that money plays tricks on our minds. As the
Yes.
stakes go higher and higher, our decision making capacity goes lower and lower, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
what happens is that a lot of entrepreneurs I've seen, as soon as they raise money, they go out and get a fancy furniture, fancy office, fancy everything, because now they have
Have to look
money.
the part.
Exactly. But they don't understand that has nothing to do with the product. That has
Exactly.
nothing to do with the customer, you know.
Yes.
And that's where the
Yeah.
divergence from the success, the road to success starts.
I agree. You said something that I think was really important in there too, Manoj. One element I want to go back and pick up on, and that is that change of direction.
Mhm.
That I've had my business since January of 2015,
Mhm.
and I've had multiple changes of direction in that
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
this
yeah.
business, right?
Absolutely,
You've
absolutely,
had changes of direction,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
How hard is that if you've gone for venture capital and you've sold those people on an idea and on a plan, how hard is it to make a change of direction when you're tied to those venture capitalists?
Well, see, the venture capitalists are pretty smart. I mean, they know that you need to pivot.
Okay.
So they're not like hung up on, okay, what is, they just
Okay.
want profit.
Yeah.
Their
Okay.
fundamental bottom line is, I'm giving you this much money, you need to give me that back this
Right.
much, right?
Right.
Now
Right.
the thing is, the more people you involve in the decision making, the harder the decision becomes, and the more shallower the decision is. And as I said, money is a strange thing. When we take money from somebody, whether we know it or not, we have given a little bit of our freedom to them, right?
Indeed.
And they're going to exert
Indeed.
that leverage at
Yes.
some point or the other, right?
Yes.
Now, there's so many examples I can give you where the entrepreneur had a different vision, and as soon as they got the venture capital, they did not like they don't hold you back, or in many cases venture capitalists actually help you, to
Right.
accomplish your vision. But they also say, oh, have you tried this? This is a better market, because they come from that experience. So
Right.
venture capitalists who, I'll give you a hypothetical example. Let's say you are trying to teach uh, kids at a low price fee, like like education for everyone. Let's say that's the theme of the
Right.
startup. Now a venture capitalist comes in and says, hey, did you know I have a connection in Stanford and Harvard, and that's a much more lucrative market. I think you should go there. you know
Yeah.
and now the entrepreneur is like, okay, I mean, you know what should I
Yeah.
do, right? Like, and
Right.
ultimately, the more money, the people with money have a huge impact on the decision making, and now
Exactly.
the original vision is sort of diluted, and that's what
Yeah.
happens.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that clearly.
Yeah.
So let's talk just a little bit. I want to talk about your podcast.
Mhm.
I want to get some information from you on that. But I also want to talk about powerful collaborations that you've had.
Yeah, yeah.
What's a powerful collaboration that you've had in your business?
Many, many, many powerful collaborations. Most of them are with people with vision, who can see further, and most of them are with people at a pretty high level of Fortune 500 companies, global players. So there have been collaborations in healthcare industry, education. I've had multiple projects, systems, global systems that I contributed to, which have had an impact of millions of lives, like at
Wow,
least 10 million lives, that we have impacted with the work that we have done.
that's
The
amazing,
the
Manoj.
patents that I have in artificial intelligence, that is changing lives. I mean, that's helping people get rid of their joint pains. That's helping students complete their degree programs. That's helping them learn faster. So these collaborations have been very, very powerful. These have been with chancellors of universities. These have been, as I said, C-suite executives of Fortune 500 companies. And it all starts with a conversation. It all starts with really understanding, okay, what is the problem you're trying to solve. And in many cases, getting deeper into it, getting into a deeper conversation, and uncovering hidden opportunities where it starts at a higher level, but then when
Right?
we dig deeper, 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 so let's say the problem we are trying to solve, joint pains. okay,
Right.
there are several ways to cure joint pains, but when you go deeper, 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 you can say, oh, what has not been tried? What is the innovation that we can bring to the table?
Right.
What technologies exist today? Because joint pains have been uh, cured for decades, but at that point we did not have 3D printing, we did not have artificial intelligence, we did not
Right.
have new materials to play with. But now we have that. But as the human sort of society is built up, once something is adopted as a de facto solution, we
Right.
hardly ever change it, right?
True.
So when we go
True.
deeper into these discussions and we have an open mind, we can say, oh, let's try this, that may
Right.
work. And in most cases, when you suggest an innovation, in most cases 98% of the people will say, no, it's not going to work,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. But
Yeah.
2% of the people will say, oh, interesting idea, let's see what happens. And
Yeah.
those are the 2% people that go on to create like these massive impact. And that's the kind of collaboration that I
Those are
really
the people
really like.
we're
Yeah.
looking for, right?
Yeah.
You used a word that's so important in that, and that was innovation.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's so important as entrepreneurs, as business owners, that we innovate our businesses.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and exactly what you were saying, look at that problem, find new ways to solve that problem for that client, and innovate your business to stand
Yes,
out.
exactly. Innovation, in every field, there is room for innovation.
Yes.
Life is a continuous stream of problems, solutions, problems, solutions,
Yes.
problems,
Yes.
solutions. Like, we wake up in the morning, oh, I'm hungry. Okay, that's a problem. Let's eat. Now I have to, make sure that I don't, it's a healthy food. That's another
Right.
problem. Now I
Right.
digest it properly. Another problem. So it
Yeah.
go on and on and on. And then
Every Yep. Every
exactly.
solution brings a new challenge.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
So if
where
you think you're
growth
going to be
lies, right?
problem free and challenge free, folks, you've got it wrong.
No, that's not human life. That's not evolution.
No.
Evolution doesn't work that way.
Yeah. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't. Okay. I want to talk about your podcast for a moment
Mhm.
and how you achieved that being in the top 5% of podcasts. You said you started it about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What did you do that made your podcast stand out and got it such good traction? And how long did that take? What was that journey?
Well, interesting story. Like when somebody like I had no clue about marketing when I started this journey. When I started my business, like I wanted to transform my business in 2019 after my mom passed away. And you know I was like, okay, I should not have any problem getting clients, but I had terrible time getting clients. And then I hired a friend to help me. And he said, hey, what your ideas seem interesting, you should start a podcast. I'm like, what is a podcast? I don't even know what the podcast is. And he goes, oh, people just share their insights, and you can have an interview style, you can have just your solo podcast. I thought, okay, fine, we'll see. And then the next month I ran into a guy whose specialty is to help people start podcasts. So I'm like,
Ah,
okay, well, this is obviously, the universe needs me to go in this
yes,
path. So let's
yes.
go. And then the next challenge was, okay, do I get um, how do I get guests for the podcast?
Right,
So then I started building, which is the core sort of system that we use now to build connections. I started building a framework, a system, even using artificial intelligence to find people and get them interested in coming to the podcast. So the very first few was a challenge, just convincing them, hey, it's a brand new podcast. But I got a
right,
few. And then after that, I started, like, I was very worried about my accent. I don't speak very fluently. I take breaks. And then I was like, this is terrible, man. But I just kept going. After 20 or so episodes, I got feedback from people. They said, oh, your questions are insightful. I'm like, okay, that's a surprise. I thought you'll be like, you'll uh, but anyway, so I said, okay, this is good, so let's continue. And then I when I had a little bit more confidence, I started approaching these big names, people who have worked with in the past, Fortune 500 CEOs, Olympic champions, movie stars, uh, even the former director of the CIA. That was a life changing conversation for me. So when these things started to happen, you know this is another thing that I want to share with entrepreneurs. You see, what happens is, when you want to build credibility, it's very difficult to build your own credibility on your own. But when
Yes.
you're seen and heard with other credible people, their
Right.
credibility rubs off on you, right?
Yes.
So you
Agreed.
automatically becomes credible, because they are
Because of who
giving
you're, yeah,
their time is the most precious commodity, and especially
indeed.
for people who are right at the top. And if
Yep.
they are going to give you their time, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that means they value you in some way, shape, or form. And
Agreed.
when the world sees you continuously, consistently with these kind of people, that's when you become more credible. And so
Awesome.
that is the sort of the story of the podcast.
So, do you do primarily an interview format for your
Yes.
show? Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
do as
I mean,
well.
we are
Yeah.
always trying, like, we are, creating a few episodes solos, so we're
Right.
always trying.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. I do a few solo episodes too, but the bulk of it is
Yeah.
interviews, and they're
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just always such a joy to interview people.
Absolutely.
Wow, lots of good stuff here, Manoj. Lots of good stuff here. Talk to me just a little bit more to our listeners about how you went about approaching those bigger names, those Fortune 500 CEOs, those Olympic champions, movie stars. How what was your methodology for reaching out to them?
Yeah. So I recently made a post about that. Once again, when I started this journey, I was a terrible communicator, and that comes from being an introvert. That comes from being an engineer, because everything is like zeros and ones. Okay,
Yes.
if you don't speak that language, then I'm not talking to you. Like,
Yeah.
um, so then I had to learn how to communicate, and not only communicate, but also understand human psychology. I have a very deep background in human psychology and neuroscience and all that, but I never applied it. I just read it as information, as knowledge, but I never applied it in the real world. And then when I
Right.
started communicating, learning more about it, what I found was that human psychology, automatically we start to put ourselves at a certain level, as compared to other person. Whenever we talk to
Right.
somebody, within 3 seconds, or not even 3 seconds, like 0.5 seconds, we're going to say, okay, that person is here, this person, I am here,
Right.
or I'm here,
Right.
this person is here, right? And
Understood.
immediately your communication style will start to reflect that.
Yes.
You will be like overly like compliant if you think that that person is here, or
Right.
overly assertive if you think you are here.
Right.
But at the same, like, at the end of the day, we are all humans, right? If we can
Yes.
talk to each other at a human level, then communication becomes very easy. And
Right.
then the other thing is, when we talk to somebody, do not talk about business, because most people just jump into straight into business. Hey, tell me what you do. This is what I do. Okay, do you want a deal or something?
Right.
But the thing is that, as you go higher and higher in these echelons of society, everybody's pitching them, everybody's after their time, everybody's saying, hey, I can do this, I can do that.
Right.
But they are also humans. They have passions, they have
Yes.
interests, they have, they are they want to do other things than just listen to other people's pitches or business
Yes.
or whatever. And so if you take a little bit of time and understand what their passions are and start the conversation with that, then it goes much smoother, because now they know, oh, this person has understands me, they have done
Right.
some work and figured out who I am. And okay, this conversation may be interesting, even if
Yeah.
doesn't go anywhere. At least they'll give you a little bit of time to see, okay, what do you have to say. and
Right.
um, And then the other thing is offer something, don't just go to these people and say, hey, I want to take something, give
Yeah.
something. and
Give
and
something.
in my case, it was exposure on the podcast. And the thing is that it started, this is the another effect of exponential growth is, when they see, oh, there are other notable people on the podcast, they are much more inclined to come to the podcast, because it
Right.
also helps them to include their name in all these,
Right.
uh, this roster of who's who. So so it's like, you first talk to them, you build a relationship. It's like dating, right? Like, when you go
Relationship.
on a date, you don't say, hey, like, come on, let's get married. It's like, okay, tell me what do you like, can
Yeah.
I, uh, can I uh, buy you a drink, or whatever that is, right?
Right.
And so if we apply that in any other social environment, it works really well.
Yeah. Build that relation. Two things there. Build that relationship. And then, as Jay Fazette says, it's a game of I'll go first.
Yeah,
You offer value first.
exactly.
Don't, not I'll go first in that, hey, I want you to do this for
Yeah,
me, but
yeah,
in let me do this for you and
yeah,
offer something of value to
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Awesome. This has been fun as always, Manoj. We need to do things more often
Absolutely.
together. What parting thoughts would you have for our listeners in terms of collaboration conversations and what they need to be doing?
So here's what I'll say, right? Most entrepreneurs, or even any high achievers, they think that they can do everything on their own, and do whatever they can, they are after, they can succeed on their own. But this is the fundamental truth: anything that we get in life is from others. Okay, even
True.
our life is not give e- even our life is given to us by our parents, and
Right.
all that starts with a conversation, right? So
Yes.
have more conversations with people, collaborate, meaning, what can you bring to the table first? As you said, I'll go
Yes.
first. Have those conversations, and then say, okay, what do you bring to the table? And when you start to realize that everything in this world that exists, everything is a result of a conversation, which leads to a relationship, which leads to a collaboration.
Yes.
Nothing without that, we will still be in the caves.
Yeah. True. Very true.
Yeah,
Very good advice, sir. Very good. Yes. Conversations, those collaboration conversations, thinking in terms of the sum is greater than the parts, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. When we work together, it's not 2 plus 2 equals 4, but maybe it's 2 plus 2 equals 10. You
Absolutely,
know,
absolutely.
when we work together, we
Yeah,
get so much more
I
out of
mean,
it,
imagine the Stonehenge is standing today. The pyramids are standing today. It was
right?
not done by one person.
Not at all.
It was a collaboration, and
Yeah.
it has lasted thousands and thousands of years.
Yes. Yes. Indeed. Indeed. And so we want to create those long lasting relationships as well. We're not
Exactly.
looking for just someone to do my next project with.
Yeah, yeah,
But we're looking for those long-term valuable relationships where we both give and receive value.
yeah, yeah.
And, as I always like to say, it needs to be a win-win-win. It needs to
Yes,
be at
yes,
least
yes.
a triple win.
Yeah.
Win for you, a win for me, and a win for our clients.
Exactly. And a
And
lot of people think in a zero sum mode, like, if I don't
yeah,
get this, then other person will get it, but that's not the case.
no, not at all.
Yeah,
There's plenty to go around.
yeah,
Plenty, plenty.
yeah.
Thank you so much for guest hosting for us today, co-hosting
Absolutely.
today, Manoj. So
Yeah.
glad to have you here. And folks, we appreciate you joining us, and come back and see us again when we do our next collaboration conversations live on LinkedIn. Bye for now.
Bye.